great if we can all get together to talk about postgraduate professional development. Certainly key on everybody's mind at universities. Is it a neglected dimension? Is that a harsh word to say, neglected? It certainly was discussed, as you see in the background paper, in about 2012. People were thinking that maybe the postgraduate picture hadn't really been incorporated. But even currently, is it neglected in terms of representation? And we certainly find a struggle around keeping student representation going as the students come on board for a year or 3 years, and keeping that representation. A lot of it's voluntary, students represent themselves, and it's very hard to keep that going. So are they adequately represented? And also in the physical spaces that we have at universities, again, are the postgraduates clear about their identity within the university spaces? And then is the conceptual overview of the postgraduate development. Do we have a clear overview of that? I hope to address some of those in this talk, and I think you'll find that it's not neglected, and it's emerging as stronger and stronger, and it's definitely what Sue said in her introduction, that universities are really giving this a key focus at the moment. So we can celebrate things, certainly from the VTI perspective and all the work that they've done with the research councils around research and development over the last decade. Significant progress in understanding researcher development. We've got the 4 domains here of knowledge and intellectual abilities, personal effectiveness, research governance and organisation, engagement, influence and impact. And that framework, that statement and framework gives us a lot to work with, and certainly all the universities over the UK have used this, employed it as their framework, their embedding of their development. And it's a lot for us to build on. And certainly the professional bodies have been working with VTI to align their professional development with that research development framework. So there's a lot of alignment going on. However, in the master's provision, the skills development is quite emergent. It's certainly some universities have had programs. So Imperial, I think this is our 3rd year of having a skills program dedicated for master's students. This image is from Warwick University and their master's skills program, and they talk about my Warwick journey and their journey through this. And certainly Brunel has a master's skills development. So that is an emergent area, and also there are many courses that are integrating skills development within the master's program, and certainly at Imperial, for example, the graduate school supports the business school in embedding team building, cultural awareness in their program, and because students, postgraduate population is extremely international, and to get all those people working together quickly, we've only got a year of their time, and that integration, it's really helpful to have programs to support that and develop team and intercultural awareness. And again, we're working with the Energy Futures Lab and the Sustainable Energy Group on looking at leadership and embedding that into their masters. So a lot of individual master's programs are looking at their skills, and certainly overall at universities, but it's still emerging as a discussion, and that's maybe something we can really talk about today, is about how that master's, and also how people progress from master's development to the PhD development, and what is there a progression, and what is the skill raising level? And that's certainly a question I'm asking myself here as head of postgraduate development. How do we distinguish if we train someone on a master's program and they stay on for a PhD? We've got a long period of development, and we need to grow them right through that. So that progression is an important question I think we need to think about today. There is a growing identity for postgraduates. I think this is a really positive picture. Many universities have stepped back in the last year or so and thought, what does the postgraduate picture look like? And I was at a meeting in Nottingham of 20 universities, and we had a large discussion around the new investments in universities about graduate spaces. And here's one from Loughborough. They opened this last week. They've opened a graduate house, and it provides social and workspace for postgraduates right at the centre of their campus, and sending out a very, very strong message that postgraduates matter and there's a postgraduate identity. And then lots of other universities are coming in, and somebody's even, and some call it the graduate studio, and one place has even called it postgraduate heaven. So there is a growing awareness of giving postgraduates an identity on campus, both physical and in representation as well. So that is an emergent thing, and people have been stepping back. However, we need to keep in mind, and we have been talking about this over coffee, is that some universities are splitting between the talk programs and research programs and linking the researchers with the postdocs and then masters, the undergraduate and masters together. So, but many are creating a master's and PhD of postgraduate population and that progression. So that's something of different viewpoints in different universities. So some are starting up doctoral colleges for PhDs and incorporating postdocs into that. So that's an interesting division that we need to keep awareness of. There's also, as we've seen in the background paper and in Sue's discussion, the growing collaborations and connections with universities to businesses, and that is, we've got lots of excellent examples. We have the formation of the National Centre of Universities and Businesses, which that helps as well with that picture. And the Research Council recently published the impact of doctoral careers on the wider economy. All those publications is really, really building up the association between the economy and the universities. So, thinking on that, it would be great if we can talk today around, is it a challenge to embed an innovation culture, that entrepreneurial culture, in the postgraduate population? And we've certainly, this afternoon, we'd like to look at those cultures, and Caroline's been part of a research project looking at how researchers see themselves in that climate. And we've also done some work comparing Chinese students with UK students and how they see entrepreneurship. And certainly from our own experience of working with MIT on our summer schools, we can see a real difference in cultures there, and it's really interesting to explore that. So I think that will make a really interesting conversation to focus in on how easy or difficult it is to embed a culture. So one thing that I'm quite passionate about, and I talk a lot about with the students, is developing their vision and sense of leading and seeing themselves as leaders. And sometimes it's quite hard. They've been so long in the education process, they don't have that awareness that they're leaders, and sometimes when we offer leadership training, the uptake of that training is quite hard because they just don't perceive themselves. So we need to embed in them the perception that they are leaders and they need a vision and need to be able to articulate their vision. So I think to create that sense in that, I think if we have a clear and connecting progression for them, we can start building that in our postgraduates. So that is quite fundamental, I think, for them to engage with a lot of the training we're offering and how they see themselves and their identity. Finally, I want to show you this is from the Global Graduates into Global Leaders, and I know we're talking about postgraduates, but I think it's still very, very relevant, that this list of competencies that was ranked as the top 10 by 12 global companies, so this is what they would hope to have, that the people coming into their sector would work collaboratively with teams from different backgrounds and countries, excellent communication skills, both speaking and listening. I would really emphasise the listening. We have to do a lot of work to get people to listen and learn the art of listening. High degree of drive and resilience. And certainly we're starting to embed resilience in our programme, and Paul, who's here, is developing our resilience course. And it's really a big thing for graduates to learn. Embracing multiple perspectives and their thinking and challenging thinking, being flexible, take on new skills and new behaviours. What's important as well is that self-awareness. We spend a lot of time trying to enable people to self-evaluate themselves, how are they on that really, and how they're working with people. Negotiation and influence with clients across the globe from different countries. And certainly we've got such a great international postgraduate population. We certainly can start embedding that in that negotiation and influencing amongst their colleagues and peers. And forming professional global networks, again, they can start that at universities, they're meeting people. And respect for the range of perspectives around the world and the multicultural learning agility. So if you look at those ranked by the companies, researcher and developing somebody for employment on a global company. Because you want your researchers with professional global networks. You want your researchers as saying. So there's not a real conflict, in my opinion, between what we would like, that employers would like, and what universities would like from their students progressing into their staff. So I'll leave that with you as my finishing point, so that when we get to the first question, we can build on that picture. So I'd like to hand back to Sue, if that's okay, for the first question.